One, we're going to be hearing from nothing.
Good, good morning, everyone. I'm Daniela McLaughlin, and I will be having the devotion for this morning. So, the theme is navigating conflict with compassion, and I'm reading from my phone. The scripture lesson is taken from Matthew 5, verse 9, and it says, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God." I also have another scripture from Proverbs 15, verse 1. And it says, "A soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger." However, our thought for today is also a scripture, and it's from Proverbs 19, verse 11. It says, "Good sense makes one slow to anger, and it is his glory to overlook an offense." Now I'll be praying. It goes like this: Loving God, I thank you for life today, and thank you for strength this morning. God, I pray that you will equip us with proper conflict management strategies and that you will just keep us safe. Lord, I pray that you will also speak peace over this nation and into our schools. May you help us not to fight each other, but to love each other. God, I pray for everyone on this platform that you will help the presenters and the hosts, and may this session bring you all the glory and honor. In your son's name I pray. Amen.
Good morning. I don't know why I'm waiting for more. Daniela, I'm okay. Good morning, everyone. And as I said in the chat, I'm going to ask you to please, as much as it is possible, please have your cameras on. This is the event design, planning, and project management final event. So yes, it is a graded event, but what the good thing about is that they are joining a conversation that we all need to be having about conflict resolution in our schools. We're seeing what's happening on the news, and I know at some point that the promo ad is going to be played, right, Janelle? Yes, it's going to be played. So our theme for today is building bridges, navigating conflict with compassion. Building bridges, navigating conflict with compassion. My name is Norindale, and it's going to be my pleasure to just be your host for this webinar. Now, as an icebreaker, I'm gonna pick on some people, and I'm gonna pick on complete strangers, and I'm gonna pick on people who I know, starting with Ms. Anderson. Now, yes, some of you are here because you have to be here. Yes? But what is it you're hoping to get out of this conversation and out of this session? And Madam Swaby, I'm going to start with you, and then to Miss Anderson while she gets her camera on, because I'm not speaking with words today. I'm speaking with persons who I can actually see. What is it you're hoping to get out of this conversation today, Miss Swaby?
All right, good morning, everyone. I think for me, the theme, I felt that it was very different in the sense that a lot of times we tend to look on the conflict situation itself and we don't consider the deep-rooted factors that's actually affecting persons and that triggers them to actually enter into conflict situations. So what I hope to get is just looking on different perspectives, different angles, considering the human in us, and
Yes.
just exploring it in its entirety and being among persons who just understand that this is a real problem and just looking forward. So, what can we do as a nation, as people,
Yes.
as persons
Yes.
interacting with our youths who will eventually be the adults of tomorrow. And even so, in a space, being in this space as adults, to just be mindful of the fact that we too, we need this as well, because we're
Yes.
always working and we're always growing. So that's what I basically hope to get from the session.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. Miss Reed, as in Gabriel Reed, who I will introduce shortly to everybody as well. What are you hoping to get from this session? You're muted. You're muted. Mhm.
Morning, everyone. So it's a pleasure being here and being a part of this webinar this morning. And I'm just here hoping and excited to hear the different perspectives and just to take away some important points, as Ms. Swaby said, to kind of know how to best guide the youth, which will be the leaders, the future doctors, the future soldiers, police, etc. of our nation. So I think this is given what's happening in the society today, this is a much needed session. And I'm just excited to be here and excited to hear the different perspectives and point of views of everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to pick on two students. Merlina, what are you hoping? Yes, I believe you're part of the class and you have to be here. What are you hoping to get out of this webinar today?
So thank you, Ms. Daly. What I hope to get from this class and what I hope not to keep only to myself, but to share with others who are not here, are ways how we can help youths to navigate situations that they seem impossible.
Okay.
Instead of fighting it out, instead of quarreling, finding different ways of dealing with situations. Because this is a here right now that is causing real problem to society. And if we can find ways how to deal with conflicts instead of the harsh reality of what is happening now, then I really believe that we'll have a better society.
Okay. Okay. All right. So we've heard from the females. No, I'm seeing a name and it says Nick, but I'm not seeing the person. So I'm going to assume it's a male. So I'm going to ask Nick. Hopefully, Nick will put his camera on. So Nick, I don't know if it's short for Nick, something else. So it's a female. I don't know. So Nick, could you just tell us what you hope to get out of this session today? And I'm asking again, this is being streamed on our YouTube channel, and it's not going to be a good look to be seeing letters and not faces. So as much as it is possible, please turn your cameras on. So Nick, could you tell us what you hope to get from the session today? Final person on this, and then we will continue. Yes, Nick.
Okay, good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Oh, this voice sounds familiar, man. Yes. Go ahead, Nick. Yes, I figured.
Learn how to successfully resolve conflicts, be a peacemaker, and be example to others when they have conflicts. Show them how to successfully resolve it and come to a mutual agreement without causing harm to each other, and just being peaceful.
Okay. Thank
Lessen
you so
the
much.
violence.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. Now, I did say at the beginning that this is the final event. So this is a graded activity. So to assist the course facilitator, which is Ms. Debbie Ann Daly, with evaluating this event, we have Gabrielle Reed. She's a multi-talented event planner and business owner with over 9 years of experience as an event planner and decorator. She is the CEO and managing director of Carrie's Events and Rentals, Carrie's Crafts, and Color Me Natural. She has a passion for planning and decorating unforgettable events and strives to become the top wedding and event planner in Jamaica. She enjoys giving back, and as such, she's a member of the nonprofit group Aspire Jamaica, where she has been serving for over 4 years, and she was elected to serve as a recruiting officer. When she's not working, she can be found tending to her cabbage garden or spending time with family and friends. She lives by the philosophy all things work together for good to them that love God. And we heard from her just now. Thank you so much and welcome, Miss Reed. We have Miss Malcolm as well. Is Miss Malcolm here? Miss Malcolm, we are going to be able to see you, I'm hoping. Yes? She is a seasoned hospitality professional dedicated to crafting unforgettable guest experiences with a career spanning upscale hotel management to event planning. She excels in exceeding expectations through impeccable service and attention to detail. Currently, she's the operations manager at Mandeville Spa and Wellness Resort. I'm going to say that again because I don't think some people recognize that Mandeville have these things too. So I'm going to say it again. They know that this is somewhere that they can visit. She's the operations manager at Mandeville Spa and Wellness Resort. Where's this, ma'am?
This is located, good morning, everybody. This is located in Hatfield.
Okay, good. And managing director of M Event Solutions Limited. She combines expertise in customer relations, team leadership, and operational management. She fosters collaborative environments, drives business success, and continually seeks innovative practices to elevate the guest experience. Her commitment to excellence ensures every guest feels valued from arrival to departure. Welcome and thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
So we know why we're here, but to give overall context as well, I'm going to ask Janelle to just play that promo video that was done for this event, and then we will continue the proceedings.
Dano Star. One other school again in the social media fight. Parents are getting news that them picking dead. A school, that is why. Students from the Department of Communication Studies at NCU, in collaboration with the Ministry of National Security, will be hosting this online webinar on conflict resolution because we need to find ways to navigate conflicts with compassion. Join us on May 22nd at 10 a.m. on the Zoom platform or on our YouTube channel at NCU DCS TV. Come make you live good.
You're muted, Miss Daly.
Just realize. So just in case you forgot why we're here and why it is important for us to have this conversation, I believe that video was a stark reminder, kind of scary in some respects because of what's been happening. Now, of course, an event like this cannot happen without sponsors. So I must highlight our sponsors before we continue. Of course, this is coming out of a class of the Department of Communication Studies right here at Northern Caribbean University. But we must say thanks to the Ministry of National Security, Live Good, and also Safe Spot in Schools. We also have Gorgeous Flower and Bedazzle and more. Thanks for coming on board to making sure that this event could happen. We're going to have 4 presenters, but the very first one is going to be Adanique Stevenson. She is a regional case management coordinator for the Western region of the Ministry of National Security, a role in which she oversees community security initiatives. She began her journey with the Citizen Security and Justice Program in 2006 as a community action officer for several communities. Her prior experience includes positions with the Social Development Commission, the United Nations Development Program, and UN volunteers, showcasing her expertise in community development and international relations. She holds a BSc in International Relations and Political Science from the University of the West Indies and earned a master's degree in social policy and development from the London School of Economics as a Chevening Scholar. Her dedication and leadership has been instrumental in advancing the mission in the Western region. Now, just before she presents, we will have Colleen Blake with a song to just set the tone for the conversation today.
Good morning, everyone. I hope we're all doing well. I'll be singing In the Eye of the Storm, and I hope you all enjoy the words, the message in the song. Like a ship sailing out on a trip so rough and long, so far from shore, so far from home. I set out in search of a reason to go on, and there I found it, the eye of the storm. No matter what storm clouds may rock this ship of mine, the light of my Savior will lead me safely through the night. And though my ship may be rocking and my sails may be torn, I shall rest in the eye of the storm. When the wind and water rages and the billows begin to roll, the blessed Rock of Ages speaks peace to my soul. He holds me in his arms, so safe and so warm, and I find shelter in the eye of the storm. No matter what storm clouds may rock this ship of mine, the light of my Savior will lead me safely through the night. And though my ship may be rocking and my sails may be torn, I shall rest in the eye of the storm. No matter what storm clouds may rock this ship of mine, the light of my Savior will lead me safely through the night. And though my ship may be rocking and my sails may be torn, I shall rest in the eye of the storm. I shall rest in the eye of the storm.
Thank you so much for for sharing. We can affirm her, you know, give her, thank you so much, Daniela. Let's give her some, you know, emojis there to tell her that we appreciated that just now. It's such an appropriate song because when there is conflict, it is a stormy and a very uncomfortable situation. Thank you so much for sharing, Colleen. So we're going to have our first presenter, Ms. Stevenson, who will be sharing with us.
Good morning, everyone. I'm supposed to put my camera on. Are you seeing and hearing me clearly?
Yes, we are.
Okay, perfect. Adenike Stevenson, Regional Coordinator, Ministry of National Security. I have a PowerPoint presentation. I don't know if I need to send it or I can just share my screen.
You can go ahead and share your screen.
Okay. Let me make sure that I'm doing this correctly, though. Share screen. Okay, I hope everybody's seeing it clearly. Okay, so this morning I'm here to talk about the Ministry of National Security's efforts in treating with crime and violence in schools and in communities on a broader scale. So we have, well, I'm going to talk about two programs that we currently have, a broader or national campaign called Live Good, which I think persons here may be familiar with. And that is our anti-violence campaign. That's a national campaign promoting positive values and attitudes. And I'm also going to be talking about another program that is based on the theme of Live Good, but is specifically targeting schools. With me so far? Okay.
Yes, we are.
So Live Good, it is, as I said before, an anti-violence campaign aligned with our Vision 2030. So, you know, we want to make Jamaica the place to live, work, raise families, and do business. And we can't do that without peace and safety, right? And a stable social environment, social and economic environment. It uses activities and messages that denounce violence, you know, whether it's domestic violence, it's community violence, gang based. So the message of that type of behavior. It's aimed at disrupting criminal activity, restoring public order, encouraging social responsibility, and of course, we're promoting a live good culture across the island. Reason for this program, the reasons are so many why we need something like this. And I think programs like this, it's always been a part of the efforts to reduce crime and violence in our country. We had peace and love in schools. We had values and attitudes programs, you know, years ago when I was growing up. So this is something that we've always tried to do to address the issues of violence in our communities. So the rationale for Live Good, it's, you know, there are so many things, but we want to influence a positive behavior change among students, among residents of our communities across the country. And we are specifically targeted students ages 13 to 18. And we also have an overall program for schools that deals with primary schools and secondary schools. Just give me one quick second.
While that is happening, I want you to just take a note of whatever question you might have. So just as she's going through her presentation, because we're going to take the questions right after she's finished on her presentation.
Sorry about that. I have to make sure that my background is less noisy. Okay, So as I said, the rationale is to promote positive behavior change across our society and promote this live good culture that we want to foster in tomorrow's generation. And of course, the goal of Live Good is to change our culture. So we want to make our society safer. We want to promote positive values and attitudes. We want to ensure that future generations, are able to respect each other, respect law and order, to abide by the rules that govern our society. So our goal is to foster that change. The key messages of Live Good: do the right thing, dash away the badness, and respect. And these are some of the works that we've been putting out, some of the anti-violence advertisements that we've been putting out, the messages that we've been sharing: no to domestic violence, no to community violence, no to gangs. Some accomplishments of the program so far: we've been doing our radio drama. We've had school meetings country. We have our community animation theater. I'm sure many of you have heard What the Kids Say on Mellow, and that's sponsored by the ministry. We've done several expos, several social services fairs. Of course, we have ads, we have feature programs in all forms of media, print, radio, and television. We have our social media presence. We also sponsor All Together Sing on TVJ. We have a lot of paraphernalia out there. I actually should have put on some of my Live Good this morning. I should have worn my hat at least. And of course, we have partnered with several entities, not just ministries, departments, and agencies, but also private sector, international development organizations, trying to advance this message as much as possible across the country. So that's the overall Live Good campaign. Now, part of the Live Good campaign is to make sure that that message goes into schools. And the ministry has another important program, major program, that we have partnered with the Ministry of Education and Youth to implement. It's an interministerial school support strategy. And a part of that strategy is to provide case management for violence prevention to young people, to students at the primary level and at the high school level. And this program targets students ages 10 to 16. So we're looking at primary school grades 4, 5, and 6, and in the high schools, grades 7 to 9. And of course, this is all done under our crime prevention, and community safety branch. So what is case management? Basically, it involves collaborating across different departments and agencies and service providers to give children the services that they need that would reduce their risk of becoming involved in criminal and violent activities. So we have these students who are referred by the guidance counselors and the deans of disciplines in the school. There are students that have shown maladaptive behaviors, whether they're fighting in school, they're missing a lot of school, they're not performing academically, they're acting out, constantly in fighting with the teachers and other students, or, there's evidence that there may be some signs of neglect or abuse. They're referred to us. We have a team of case managers across the 3 regions under the ministry. So across I think we have 8 parishes that we cover currently. And those case managers get the referrals. We use our ministry developed tools. We have 2 risk assessment instruments designed through the CSJP program, and the ministry currently uses them. So those instruments are used to assess the risk levels of the students, and they're designed in such a way that they flag the domains or areas that the students would really need help in. So whether it's their violence history, it could be also their family history, it could be their current household situation. We look at suicide, we look at thoughts of self-harm, we look at substance abuse, and we look at any form of psychosis that they might have or mental health issues that they might have. So from the risk assessment, we're able to design a case plan, and that case plan would outline what areas we're going to treat with. In partnership with the parents, the guidance counselors, the deans, we look at a plan for the student, how we're going to help them to, change their behaviors, develop more positive values, and, change their overall perspective. From that, we work with different partners, we work with the ministry, the school, we work with the parents, we visit the homes, we work with various agencies, whether we need to provide them with substance misuse treatment. We work with a team of psychologists through the Ministry of Education, and we provide the services. Under the case management program in this interministerial strategy, we have, this is just giving you a timeline of how it came about. So we had decided, there was a policy decision to support the strategy and to provide case management services. We started in around January of 2022. The Ministry of Education selected schools targeting the ZOSOs, the Zones of Special Operations, and we have a total of 34 schools that were selected. And of course, the target grades, grade 4 to 9 that we are looking at. Currently, we have services being provided to 28 schools. We still have 6 schools in KMA to be engaged, fully engaged. So this is just giving you an idea of the number of schools that we have targeted in each region. So region 1 is Kingston, KMA, and region 4 is Western. Western comprises 4 parishes, Falmouth, St. James, Hanover, and Westmoreland. So you see the breakdown in terms of the target schools. I skipped something. Okay, so this is giving you an idea of the case management process, although I kind of outlined it, but just visual for your benefit. So we have the sensitization of the schools, the referrals provided by the deans and the guidance counselors. We sensitize the parents, and we conduct the risk assessment of the students. Excuse me. Then we develop the individual treatment plans for each student, and we commence the process of delivering services. Our main service providers are ministries, departments, and agencies. So we have the Ministry of Education engages a psychologist to provide those types of treatments. The case managers are there for the one-on-one mentorship on a weekly basis with the students and the parents. We work with the NCDA, National Council on Drug Abuse, to provide any substance misuse treatment. We've been working with PATH for any sort of welfare issues or welfare provisions. We've also worked with that just slipped me a while ago. But we've also been working to provide the students with tablets. That started actually prior to the interministerial strategy that started during COVID. We've been trying to ensure that all the students have devices, but under the strategy, we've also worked to provide students with devices, and some of those were issued last September. But yeah, so those are some of the entities that we've been working with. But we've also been looking at partnerships with international development organizations, currently with Positive Pathways, which is a USAID funded program, to see what other support we can get through this strategy. Once we're delivering the services, we monitor the services, and of course, we have to reassess the students. For the high school and primary school students, we reassess every 6 months to a year. These are some of the services that we have been delivering: psychological services, motivational interviewing, which is what the case managers do on a daily basis. We've been doing home visits. Those are done by the case managers. We have some welfare support. We have support to the parents. We have a partnership currently now with the ministry has with positive pathways, as well as through the National Parenting Association, we've been doing parent training. I know PMI West in the Western region has also been doing parenting training, and the aim is to have, I believe, all the parishes covered in terms of providing parenting education to all the parents of the students referred. We also do life skills education and CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, with the clients in the program. That is also done by case managers. And of course, NCDA provides substance misuse treatment. Of course, with every program, you have challenges. We certainly have our fair share with the ministry's programs, not just with Live Good, but with any sort of partnership. There are challenges, sorry. Some of them, I've just highlighted a few of them. One of the main challenges is the parents. Many of the parents whose children are acting out and creating problems in the schools, they are in denial. They'll say, oh, not my child is not a bad child. My child, don't label my child as this. So I don't know if they're in denial or they're just not willing to see it, or they just don't want people to have that view of their children, but that's what we encounter. And because they have that view, then they refuse treatment. We have seen situations where the schools have, the guidance counselors have identified that the child has a learning disorder. And because the child has a learning disorder, the child acts out in class and in school, but the parent is unwilling to say, come and sign the form for the child to get the necessary attention and assessment that he needs, or he or her needs, because you cannot label my child as dunce. What are you trying to say? My child is dunce? I'm not coming to sign that because nothing wrong with my pitney. And so these are the things, but the guidance counselor has seen it, they've assessed it. They say, okay, the child is writing his letters and his numbers backwards, or he's not writing at all, or he's not reading at the level. We need to get him further assessed. Parents don't want to come. Parents don't give consent. There's nothing we can do. The law does not allow us to proceed with that child without the parents' consent. So that's a big part of it. Parents not willing to give consent for the child to get treatment, to get any counseling or any kind of remedial attention. Some parents are just too busy. Some parents work 2 jobs. Some parents work all hours, to make ends meet. And it's just not, they're just not finding the time to come. Parents said they're doing them hustling, so they can't find the time to come when you are available. We do have the lack of cooperation from students. You have some students that especially at the high school level, we have most of the challenge there, because the high school students, a lot of them have been left to grow up without any supervision and any direction. So for you to come as an authority figure to say, come to this session or come and do this or that, they're not listening to you. They don't even listen to their parents. So why should they listen to you? So that is a big challenge. And of course, we have challenges with service delivery. You're working, ministry to ministry. There's a lot of, red tape. There's a lot of bureaucracy that you have to go through, which sometimes delays service delivery. And of course, sometimes the demand is far greater than what we are able to provide. And so that's why we seek to partner as much as possible with as many entities as possible. And we encourage private sector, we encourage civil society to be a part of what we are doing, because this problem that we're having is not just the ministry's problem, it's everybody's problem. Yes, so just specifically in schools, what we're doing under Live Good, we're promoting the campaign in schools, targeting the primary and high schools. Our minister has said repeatedly in the media that we have to start targeting them from young. Sometimes when they get older, it's very, very hard for you to bend the tree. So you have to bend the tree from young. We've done activity books for children. We're providing branded equipment to schools. We've provided, our minister is big on music, sports, and technology. So we've provided a lot of musical instruments to many schools so far. We're still doing that. And we've also, as I said before, we've been providing the devices so that the students have access to tablets for any online learning that's needed. Of course, we have the case management program for at-risk students, and we have been doing a number of social services fairs targeting the schools, targeting the students that need the assistance. So where students, so we're still finding students without birth certificates, without, proper health care services. We've been having to do that. People without ID, TRN, different things like that. So we have been doing that across all of the schools that we target. And that is my presentation to you this morning. Open for any questions.
Thank you so much, Ms. Stevenson. While some individuals are working, I have two quick questions for you. How do you decide on the schools that you target?
Okay, so the schools were decided by Ministry of Education, and those were the schools that were chosen based on the zones of special operations. So if a school is located in the ZOSO, then it is naturally going to be a targeted school. But we also look at schools that serve the ZOSO communities. So for example, a high school might not be in a ZOSO, but most of the students, maybe 50% of the students, are coming from, ZOSO communities. So for example, you have a Denham Town, that high school, you have the, one of those high schools in like Tivoli Gardens or Denham Town, and those communities, most of those students will go to those schools. In the Western region, we have like St. James High. Most of the students who go to St. James High are coming from Salt Spring, Norwood, the vulnerable, vulnerable communities.
Okay, thanks for sharing. And before I ask my other question, you have said that you started partnership and y'all partnered with us last year for NCU Invitational Debate Series. So, we can attest to the fact that you are extending your reach. Now, we've listened to the presentation. How can we help? What is it you'd want more of us to do to help this initiative?
Definitely spreading the message, getting the Live Good message out there as much as possible in whatever activities that you're doing, carrying that message with you. Any way in which you can assist us with services, we are always looking for persons to volunteer, to give time. We don't have enough bodies. We don't have enough in terms of the human resource. NCU has always been good in terms of, for example, with Peace Management Initiative, we've always had persons doing their practicums, social workers, psychologists, they've always come to PMI and provided, services as part of that, and also voluntarily. So if we have more persons giving of themselves to provide the services to the young people, we're always in need of mentors, to help to give that one-on-one mentorship to young people, especially the high school students. So I think those are some of the main ways. If there are community projects that NCU could, come up with targeting communities that are vulnerable, that would also be, helping to push this message of Live Good across the country.
Okay. So how then, if somebody's saying, yes, I want to volunteer to become a mentor for some of these young people, who do they call? How do they get in touch with somebody to be part of this program?
You can always contact me. You can call the ministry directly and ask. I think Shanae, are you online? She was here earlier. Shanae can probably give you more contacts, but we can definitely give you contact information for the different programs within the ministry that you can volunteer with. If you have persons in the West, I am the best person to talk to. But in KMA, I think we can definitely give you that information for who to contact.
All right. So those are my burning questions. So I'm now opening the floor for anybody to then ask their questions at this time. Just unmute and go ahead and ask your question of Ms. Stevenson before we take our other presenter.
Good morning. Just one question. I'm not quite sure if you had mentioned this because I was in and out for quite a while. What are your plans for expanding to the other parishes?
That is a policy decision at the highest level. I don't think I can answer that question. My responsibility is for the Western region, which is, as I said, is 4 parishes. We make recommendations all the time, however, to Ministry of Education and to our minister to say, you know, as much as this school is not in the zone. So for example, if you look at what happened recently with Irving High School, that is not one of our target schools in the West. But with what happened, you know, now both ministries are saying, okay, maybe we need to look at what interventions can be had there. So we make our recommendations, but the decisions are made above me, you know, but we can influence it by saying, listen, these are the issues in this school or in this community, and we really need to look at it. And more often than not, they listen to us. So if you have a school or a community that you think needs some intervention, you know, you can reach out to the regional coordinators. There are 3 of us in the ministry, myself, Kevin Williams for KMA, and one second, I'm gonna just check.
No problem.
Not a problem. I know you're gonna give us some numbers and all of that too also.
Yes.
Before,
So let me, yes. So there's,
yes.
as I said, there are 3 of us. I can give you the contact information for all 3 of us as regional coordinators. You can make the referral to us and we can try and escalate it. So I don't know if I should give numbers here on the platform if you want that, or, you know, text it in the chat. I can give you in the chat, I can give you for the 3 regional coordinators and you can reach out to them. But those decisions in terms of expansion are made above us. So we just make the recommendations.
Okay, no problem. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing, Miss Stevenson. Hi. Okay, go ahead, Salanda. That will be our last one. Go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, good morning. So seeing that parents are a bit hesitant in this program, right? What are some strategies that you would say are being put in place for more parents to come on board and collaborate and, you know, drop the stigma?
So one of the things that, yes, well, it's a good question. One of the things that we push to do with every school that we engage, once we have the referrals of the students, we try to engage the parents in a sensitization session. So if they come to the session, they will get all the information and we break it down for them in a way where they understand that their child is not being targeted or labeled, right? And that is for their benefit as well as their child, the benefit of their child or children. So we try to do that. When they don't turn up to the sensitizations, we reach out to them by phone. Sometimes we have to go to the house just to speak to them, just to say, what's happening, you know, why aren't you coming to sensitization sessions and all these things? Outside of that, we have persons on the ground, our communities. We have community liaison aides that work in the communities to bring this message out to parents that, listen, this thing that's happening in the school, it's good for your child. And we actually find a lot of parents who their child wasn't referred, but because they hear the message, they come and they say, why my child can't be in the program? Why you didn't choose my child? Right? Outside of that, we have our parenting programs that we've been doing with National Parenting Association, with the international partners, Positive Pathways, trying to give parents that type of positive parenting training, that they know how to deal with they know how best to deal with the issues with their children, and they are more open to seeking assistance because they realize, you know, through the training, they realize, oh, maybe my child does have a problem, or maybe I am really having a challenge training my child the right way. So let me go to this training.
Thank you so much, Ms. Stevenson, for sharing. And I'm sure for those who, you know, we hear the ads and, you know, we see different things on different platforms, we now have a better understanding of why this program is around and what it is doing and how we can help. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, ma'am. All right. So I believe is Reverend Nigel Walker here, because I'm about to introduce him, but I'm not seeing him. So is he here?
Are you hearing me though?
Yes, I'd like to see you though, sir. Is that possible?
I just want to know if you're hearing me. You seeing me now?
No, we're not seeing you yet, but while you're
My
sorting
video-
that out, I'll introduce you.
My
But we'd
video-
like to see you as well. Yes, sir.
My video is open, so I don't know why.
Okay. All right. These things happen, but well, that is happening. So he's a devoted, Reverend Nigel Walker is a devoted servant of the kingdom of our Lord Jesus Christ, whose life and work reflect his deep commitment to faith and education. As the dean of Anatobe High School, Reverend Walker plays a pivotal role in shaping the academic and moral lives of his students, guiding them with wisdom and compassion. Prior to his current position, he served as an instructor at Kellett High. His journey in education and ministry exemplifies his unwavering dedication to serving his community and fostering an environment where faith and learning can thrive. Reverend Nigel Walker, please share with us.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Well, it is a wonderful joy to be here with you. And I am in another meeting as I speak. I just asked that my liaison called me 5 minutes before, because we are in discussion regarding the discipline and the indiscipline of our children in our school. And I had to make sure that I am on time, because I don't like to be late, even though I am a short man. And that being said, being a short man, I like to be short in what I am going to say to you today. And somebody says, I should speak up and shut up. All right. Is it possible? I see that the share icon is open. So can I share my PowerPoint presentation here?
Yes, sir, you can go ahead.
Host is disabled screen. It says, so I'm waiting. Let me click on it again. Host disabled participant screen sharing in not open yet.
Janelle, is there a challenge?
You
'Cause I
should
know
have
from
the
my end.
ability to share now.
That's what I'm
I should have the
thinking.
ability to share now. Let me click on it again. And it says host disabled participant screen sharing again. Not open yet. When I get there, I will sing and shout. When I get there.
Here what I'm gonna ask my technical person to do,
Hallelujah,
sir.
praise be the Lord.
Reverend
When
Walker,
I
Reverend Walker,
get there.
Reverend Walker. All right.
Yes, ready
Here
now?
what
Ready
we're gonna
now?
no, what we're gonna ask you is probably log out and log back in. So I'm gonna ask Janelle to use just while he's doing that, just to share that ad again, because I noticed we've had some persons joining us since we started initially. So I'm gonna ask you just log out and log back in. So maybe that might help to fix
Let
the
me see.
camera
Let me
issue
see.
and the yes, just log back out and log back in,
All
and
right,
then
let me
it's
try
more.
that.
So
Let me
while that
try
is happening, Janelle, just so that there's no dead space, just play the ad again. Because there's some people who joined us who didn't join us initially, and we're welcoming them as well, because our numbers have increased.
Dano Star. One other school again in the social media fight. Parents are getting news that them picnic dead. A school. That is why students from the Department of Communication Studies at NCU, in collaboration with the Ministry of National Security, will be hosting this online webinar on conflict resolution, because we need to find ways to navigate conflicts with compassion. Join us on May 22nd at 10 a.m. on the Zoom platform or on our YouTube channel at NCU DCS TV. Come make we live good.
All right, so he isn't back on it. So while we're waiting, I had picked on a colleague earlier and I wasn't able to see her on screen. So I'm going to ask her, what is it she intends to get out of the session, Madam Michaela Anderson, while we're waiting on Reverend Walker to rejoin us. Yes.
Miss Daly. So what I intend to get out of this session today? What do you ask? we have been having lots and lots of, as the promo pointed out, conflicts in our schools. And I dare not say that it's isolated to high schools or secondary schools or whatever. We also have conflict at this level. It might not necessarily be physical, but we're still dealing with conflict. And I hope that we can find some nuggets of inspiration that can help us to navigate, because we have lots of students coming from spaces that are filled with violence and trauma, and they do not necessarily have an outlet. And listen, our space here sometimes end up being that place where they're expressing some of their frustration. So we need to, and I'm hoping that I can find some nuggets of inspiration so that I can help my students become, I guess, agents of peace, as well as I be an agent of peace.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. Just another reminder for those of you, as long as it is possible, could you turn your camera on? Mr. Kelly, I don't know where your light source is, but I'd love to see your face. Yes, but I want to see you. I don't know where your light source is, but I'm hoping that we'll be able to see you. For those of us who are joining us, there we go. Look at that bright smile, people. And he's here hiding in the dark. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that, Mr. Kelly. Don't do that. We want to see you. Don't do that. For those of you who joined us late, this is a conflict resolution, conflict in schools webinar put on by the Event Design Planning and Project Management class right here at Northern Caribbean University. And our theme is building bridges, navigating conflict with compassion. Now, as we're waiting on Reverend Walker to come back, if not, we're going to move on to the next presenter and then get back to him. But I'm going to give him another minute or so. I want some of us to just kind of just stop and think that when we do have our conflicts, and yes, we would have highlighted what's been happening in the high school, but are we navigating our own conflicts with compassion? I'm not going to ask you to share, but I just want us to take that introspective look, because if at the end of this session, if we've spent these hours together and we're not better equipped to be agents of peace, as my colleague said, you know, what then? We would have wasted our time. And I know a lot of us, we're not into wasting our times. When we do something, we do it deliberately. So just something to think about. It seems as if Reverend is having a challenge. So we're going to move on to our, no, let us take an item then while we're waiting. And if after the item he's not back on, then we'll go on to another presenter. So Tanisha, I believe, is supposed to be giving us our next item. Are you ready for that, Tanisha? So we'll go to that item, and then if he's not on, then we'll go on to Tamra. So we'll take the item now from Tanisha Johnson.
Good morning again, everyone. Let schools be safe again. Let my mother not dry her tears because I was unable to make it home safe. Let my father not be captivated by rage because I died on my way from school. Let schools be safe again, please, because every time I go out, I fear my soul is going to leave. Last week, I watched my best friend take her last breath over a pen. What does it take to make school safe again? Because I will do it. I will do anything. But I alone can't get it done. I wish you would all take up the baton and lead us into a time when we don't have to bleed, when I can sit in class and learn how to write and read, a future where I can have dreams. Let schools be safe again. Let my future plans meet me in the future. Let me not fear for my life. Let me walk with my head held high, books in my bag and pen to outline my aspirations and goals to achieve with time. Let school be safe again. Let us put down the badness that causes so much sadness. Let us arm ourselves with books rather than knives. Let us not cuss or fight. Let us not act upon rage. Make we live good and be brave to stop conflicts before they escalate. Let schools be safe again. Could it be abuse, neglect, or violent homes? Could it be the music in our headphones? Whatever it is, we need to act now. We need a solution before time runs out. We need to educate and rehabilitate so that our school can be once again safe. That was a poem entitled Let Schools Be Safe Again, written by Shanice Davis.
Sweet. I'm smiling because I know Shanice Davis and she's in this space. Commendations. Yes. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. So Reverend Walker is not here. So we're going to move on to Tamara. And I can be bright enough to say Tamara because she's a former student of mine. But she is a big woman now. So let me behave myself and call her Mrs. Atkinson. So Tamara Douglas Atkinson, BSN RN, was born in the cool rustic hills of northern Clarendon and developed an early passion for helping others navigate psychosocial crises. This led to peer counseling and speaking opportunities during high school, fueling her commitment to holistic well-being. She earned her Bachelor of Science degree in nursing from Northern Caribbean University in 2022 and currently serves as a school nurse at Kellett's High School, her alma mater. A published researcher with extensive training in mental health literacy and problem management, Tamara also contributes to projects like the Citizen Security Project under the Ministry of Education, Youth, and Information. Aspiring to expand her impact, she hopes to become a life coach, motivational speaker, and psychotherapist. Tamara, could you share with us, please?
Good morning, everyone. Just to say, Mr. Nigel Walker is here and he's also my class teacher, and his camera is on. I hope you weren't. Okay, sir. All right, so just give me a minute. Let me find this presentation and display it, please. Okay, are we all seeing this presentation? All right, great. So as Ms. Daly had mentioned, my name is Tamara Douglas, and per the presentation here, the topic of the presentation is compassion in conflict. So unfortunately, conflict is always around us. It is something that we cannot get out of, no matter what we do. We have disagreements, confrontations, and things like, did you take my pencil because I just have one like that over there, so I'm a door seat right now. So conflict is defined as an inevitable part of human experiences arising from different opinions, values, needs, or goals. So about a week ago, there was a disagreement that the dean was mitigating in his office. So we have two students. We're going to call them student A and student B. They had a confrontation the day before, and due to miscommunication, they both ended the confrontation with saying that, all right, the next time I see you, I go beat you. I go fight. So safe to say that only one student came the next day ready for the fight and the other was completely clueless. At the end of it, talking through the whole situation, both students recognized that, all right, if we had just taken the time to understand what the other was saying truly, then we wouldn't have been here in the first place. And just like this situation, conflict can prove to be challenging and uncomfortable. However, it can also prove to be a means for growth and a positive change. So in agreement to the webinar's theme, which is building bridges, navigating conflicts with compassion, today we will be taking a look at navigating conflict with compassion rather than empathy, because I'm pretty sure that we have mostly heard about empathy when it regards to conflict resolution. So let's first define the two. Empathy is about a feeling.
Just a second. If we're supposed to be seeing this on a slide, we're not.
You're not seeing it?
Mm-mm. It's there, but if it's supposed to be, you know.
How about now?
All right. We're not seeing it still.
All right, let me stop sharing and go ahead again.
And share it again.
Are you seeing the slide now?
Yes, we are.
All right, I'm going to try to maximize the screen. If it's not maximizing, then I'll just have to resort to presenting it as such. Are you still seeing the screen? Okay, great. So we're going to be differentiating between empathy and compassion. Empathy is about feeling the same emotions that one of your friends or family members or someone else is feeling. For example, if a friend is sad, you would most likely want to empathize with them. You'd want to feel that sadness along with them. However, where compassion comes into play now, compassion takes empathy a step further. It's about recognizing someone's distress and wanting to help them to alleviate that distress. So Henry, a professional mediator, gave a presentation in 2022 about radical compassion as the goal of conflict resolution. He defined radical compassion as an infinite and intimate connection with another person's humanity, combined with the knowledge that we can never truly know or experience what someone has lived through. And that is true, because regardless of the fact that you and I both are going to school, we are both experiencing the stress where schools are concerned, both of us have exams due, presentations due. We both have different experiences going through and experiencing at that point in time. So Henry gave 4 elements of radical compassion: autonomy, inclusion, expansion, and exploration. The first that we'll be taking a look at is autonomy. Seeing humanity in others offers the opportunity to acknowledge that the next human being or the next individual is just as human as you are. And also that they are just as flawed and just as imperfect as you and the other person. Experiencing autonomy involves us seeing
I'm here to interrupt you again. I'm watching the conversation. The slides are not moving, and we know you spent time on preparing this. So somebody just put a reminder, so just say present at the top, and or if anything you want to send it and have our technical person do it, let us know what makes it easier for you. But we know you spend time and we want to see the slides as well. So
all right, no problem. I'll just return to this presentation view. Are you seeing it as is?
Yes, we are.
One, autonomy.
We're seeing element 1, and the suggestions are put it on slideshow, whichever works for you.
I tried slideshow. That's what I was in.
Oh, that's not working for you. So this is where you are, and this is we'll work with it as is.
All right, great. So let's continue where I had left off. Experiencing autonomy involves us seeing the next person as a complete human being and taking accountability for our actions as well. And if it is not possible for us to see that person as a human being rather than half of that whole, then it's best for us to not engage in the confrontation at all. So the dean at our school here loves to ask the students this question. If they were standing in your shoe, would you want them to react the way that you are reacting right now? And I believe that is something that we should all ask ourselves when we are in a conflict or confrontation. So element 2 is inclusion. Now, this aspect of radical compassion is actually very intriguing. Henry suggests that inclusion refers to me thinking of you as part of me rather than you being someone other than me, because we are all one in the same at the end of the day. And if I am thinking of you as part of me, that means that I don't have to ask anyone else if I want to hurt you. Why? Because if I hurt you, then I'll be hurting myself. So think of it this way. You want to steal from me, but would you want someone else to steal from you? We're all one in the same. Element 3 refers to exploration. So this urges us to remember that we know very little about everything. Why is this? That's because we are looking at the world through a rabbit hole of our own understanding and not with the consideration that there are a million more perspectives out there. Exploration helps us to move past the thinking that things only have two options. It's either right or wrong, it's either black or white, it's either red or blue. So it helps us to move into exploring nuance, ambiguity, and uncertainty. And when we do this, we open doors to new understanding, meaningful conversations, and deep dialogue. Take, for instance, student A and B that I had mentioned earlier. So yes, student A came to student B with the whole hearsay situation and judging them right off the bat. However, that person may have been wrong in their eyes at that point in time, but rather than saying at that point in time that you're wrong, let's take a step back. All right, why did you come to this conclusion? We can always try to understand the situation from a broader perspective rather than the fact that you offended me and this is where it's going to stop. So element 4 refers to expansion. When our awareness about the situation and the person expands, we can respond to conflicts in ways that are transformative and restorative. Expansion helps us to move through interests, emotions, values, and needs, such as security, autonomy, authenticity, connection, peace, and meaning. If we transform conflicts from shouting that you're wrong and I'm right, then we can radically resolve conflict through compassion. So compassion in conflict. Let's work together. Earlier, we had defined compassion as recognizing someone's distress and wanting to help them to alleviate that distress. Autonomy helps us to see the person as a human being and not just a figure that we are attacking. Inclusion, it helps us to recognize that we are part of a whole and not separate from each other. So if I'm hurting you, then I am hurting myself. Exploration, now, it helps us to identify that what you did was not okay with me, but I can see that you're hurting and I would like to know why. And lastly, with expansion, it helps us to put that why into perspective. What are you lacking? Are your emotions or feelings hurt? Did I offend you with something I said? Or are there needs in your life that are not being met that I reminded you of, such as maybe lack of safety or security? Understanding compassion as its different parts and And also, as a whole, it helps us to understand the value that we can add to each other's lives as we navigate conflicts well. The goal, I want us to remember, is not to avoid conflict, because conflict is a meaningful part of life, and the goal is to grow from conflict or the interactions that you may have with conflict just the same. So how can we navigate conflict with compassion in a nutshell? We can first try or start with voicing our concerns with respect. As a human, we all have rights. No one's going to take that from you. And you have the right to autonomy. However, that right does not exempt us from disrespecting another individual. We can also look towards taking accountability for our own feelings and emotions. We all have emotional triggers, and it's important for us to understand ourselves and our needs and take responsibility for the part that we play in that conflict. We can also move towards practicing patience. The more patient we are in a situation, the less likely we are to act impulsively and without the consideration of that other individual. We can also move towards practicing active listening. When someone or people feel heard and respected, they are less defensive, less combative, and more open to having a dialogue, regardless of how offended they may feel. And lastly, we want to respond authentically. We will not always be on the same page. It is absolutely impossible for us to always agree. We won't always agree on a certain topic or issue, but when we are honest and direct with someone about what we are feeling and the other does the same, it opens the door towards expansion, discovering what lays beyond, or beneath, I should say, the iceberg. So I want to end with a quote here from G.K. Chesterton, my apologies. It isn't that they can't see the solution, it's that they can't see the problem. And we can always assist where this is concerned. This ends my presentation. Thank you all for listening, and I am open to questions.
Thank you so much. Any questions for Madam Atkinson, for Nurse Atkinson? Any questions?
Hello, you hearing me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I want to ask my daughter the question since a long time I haven't heard from her. And she had not been calling me so often. But I want to know, Pitney, you get married yet?
But were you loading the lady up in the public space like that,
I just
sir?
asked, you said ask a
God have
question.
mercy. She just didn't change her name on the Zoom platform. Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Okay. I will speak to you afterward, Princess.
No problem.
I don't know what. Sir, why you do that, Sir Walker? We'll come to you next, but I have a question. Since it seems as if sometimes people have to warm up. How can society help us to be a bit more compassionate? How?
I believe that it would have to start from being considerate. It's important for us to always have compassion, but compassion leads from being considerate of the other human being. If you're always thinking about self, how can you see the other individuals through that mirror?
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Any other question for Nurse Atkinson?
Good morning, all. I don't have a question, but I'd like to say that I appreciate that she mentioned not to avoid conflict, but to try and, resolve the conflict in a better way. Because when we bottle up our emotions, that sometimes leads to something else that we don't want. So I appreciate your presentation.
Thank you.
No
Thank
problem.
you.
Thank you.
And in the Jamaican parlance, we say pressure bus pipe. So yes, 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 thanks. So if there are no questions or any other comment, we're gonna just go right to Sir Walker. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm seeing a hand. Okay, Trish. We're not able
Hi,
to see you,
everyone.
Trish.
I'm not sure how. Can you see me?
There we go. Look at that. And
Hi.
that beautiful smile. Go ahead, Trish.
Hi,
Yes.
everyone. So my question is, say for example, a person they caught themselves in a situation where another person is really irate. What are some words to use to kind of calm down the situation, or even have the person see, hey, I have your best interest at heart. You are not the problem. We have a problem here. How can we really solve the problem or attack the problem rather than attacking the person? Do you have any words or phrases that can be kind of universal? Because we know we have to treat everybody differently. But what are some common phrases that can use to de-escalate a situation if you can't walk away from it?
Well, not necessarily a word to help to de-escalate the situation, but a word for you. Walk away. Words, I should say. Sometimes we won't be able to show that person in that point in time that it's not you, it's not me, it's the problem. Because we won't always be able to see that. So when that is not possible, the best thing that we can do is to walk away.
Okay, thanks a lot.
You're most welcome.
Anybody else? All right. Go ahead, Sir Kelly. Sir Kelly, you're moving, man. Stay still while I ask the question, though, Sir Kelly.
I have to walk out of the room.
Okay.
All right. Based on the comment, well, she asked a question just now about how can you remedy certain situation when there is a conflict. It's best that we also move away from saying you. So rather than pointing to the person, you say to the person how you as an individual feel. So you're not ready, so that the person will be comfortable and not feel that you are actually bashing them in the process. So for example, let me use an example for the classroom setting. If a child continues to talk in the class, rather than saying you need to shut your mouth or you need to whatever, you could say to the child, I am trying to teach a lesson, but because of how you are talking, then it is preventing other persons from learning. So when you do this, it allows the child not to be ashamed or feel bad, but you're putting forward how you as the individual is feeling based on the action that the child is committing. So you don't use the terms you this, you that, you this, you that, but you say how you feel, how I feel based on what you are doing. And that will help to kind of quell the situation, and the child will not feel embarrassed or feel that you're bashing them.
Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for sharing. You have another question, Madam Hewitt, or is it that you just forgot to lower your hand? Because I know your hand is still up.
Sorry, I didn't know how to undo that. I'm not so good with this.
All right, there we go. It's down now.
Okay, sorry.
It's
Sorry
off
about
now.
that.
All right. No, man, that's fine. That's fine. All right. So Rudolph Sewell is saying, good morning, everyone. This is an extremely relevant and timely webinar. Compassion is perhaps one of the most difficult attributes to foster in highly competitive environments. My view is that it is a matter of the heart, and so is greatly helped by conversations such as this. Kudos to DCS and, of course, especially the class who is putting this on, the events class. Thank you so much, Sir Sewell. So we're going to go right. We know Sir Walker is a busy man. He did tell us that he popped out of a meeting to do this. So we're going to just go right into his presentation so he can return to his regular duties. Sir Walker, you may begin.
Thank you very much. And thanks to the rest of the presenters that were before me. And I really applaud their continual messages to us as we continue to do our part. One of my key phrases that I have always been using long before I became a Dean of Discipline. Maybe it started when I was in Bible college. And that is, Discipline does not reside in one man, one man's job. It is everybody. All of us need to be carrying out discipline. So while we have a dinner discipline at an institution or a school, there should also be that everyone should be taking their part, playing their part in doing same. All right. And conflict resolution webinars have been all over Jamaica and even the world over and over again. And it seems as if we don't know how to deal with the issues that we are having, the pent up issues that we are having within ourselves too. Trish, I want to add to what others said earlier before I go into my presentation. A lot of time, sometimes it has to do with us. So while we try to walk away when there is a issue, when there's a problem with you or somebody else, sometimes you might need to look on yourself and see if you are doing something wrong too. Because a lot of times we don't really point the finger on ourselves. We point the finger on somebody else. And when you look on it, this big guy here is pointing on us too. And looking at us and saying, hey, think about how you said something. And I'm speaking to myself at times. So yeah, because sometimes I say some things and I need to go back and say, all right, listen to me. I didn't mean it that way. All right. That being said, let me go right into my presentation. And I am going to ask if you are seeing the presentation. All right.
Yes,
all right, good. As a pastor and also a member of the Jamaica Combined Celtic Force, a lot of my presentations are from a military point of view. And if you want to ask me the question, if me's a warlord guy, all right, let me not answer that now. All right, but I'm a nice guy. You can talk to my daughter about it. She knows. Tamara knows that I'm a very nice guy. I might be loud at times. I might be very, very, very loud at times, but don't worry about the loudness. It's just, you know, one of the things that comes with short people. Yeah. All right. So discipline is key. And I've learned that as a young boy growing up, I grew up with my grandfather. My father wasn't around. So I've learned a lot of things early. And at 11, I started working and providing for my 4 sisters, including along with my mother. So it was very hard for me. So I started very, very early. It's in my late 50s. I'm wanting to have fun like young people. So don't discuss my age at this time. All right. Please watch this clip for a couple seconds and then we chat. I hope you're hearing it. I hope you're
We're not hearing, sir.
You're not hearing. Hearing now? What do I need to do?
Still not hearing. You need to do the audio. When you're gonna show your slide, you need to click something at the bottom.
On the bottom. All right, so let me
Close out and start again. Yes.
Yeah, let me unshare and then click share. What thing down at the bottom? Oh, share sound.
Yes, click both items that you see. If there's another one, click it as well.
Oh, there's another one there. Oh, optimize video.
Right.
Wait, there's a question
And then
sign. Optimize screen sharing for viewing. And now, all right, hold on. All right, see massive. All right, so let me go again. I am not seeing my PowerPoint now. Oh, I see it now. Let us see if this works. Hearing now?
We're hearing.
Yes, we're hearing, yes.
All right. I trust you have enjoyed yourself with that. Later on, we discuss that, yes? All right, so I said earlier on that discipline is key. It begins with you. And that has to do with self-discipline, all right? Now, according to Captain Jack Sparrow, the problem is not the problem. The problem is your attitude about the problem. Do you understand? All right. Now, what is self-discipline? Self-discipline is when you use the word discipline. What do we mean by that? Has to do with self-control, is being a disciple or follower or leader, staying focused on your goals, obedient to orders. And remember, as I said, I'm speaking from a military point of view, avoiding distractions, not giving to appetites or impulses, possessing true freedom because you are free to accomplish what you want, and not enslaved by your knee-jerk instincts. A lot of times we make the mistake of quoting ourselves the wrong way and distributing our feelings the wrong way. And so we need to have self-discipline. So discipline is key. It begins with you. We can't stop from emphasizing that. Now, self-discipline is the ability to direct your thoughts, emotions, and actions toward a meaningful purpose. And if you notice this soldier, he's keen on viewing his enemy in sight, lining him up, and making sure that his thoughts, his emotions, and actions are meaningful to the target to ensure that whatever he executes his purpose in the best way following. Also, self-discipline is an ability or a skill that can be learned or owned or perfected. And as we continue in our lives, there's going to be a time when your ability is going to be asked to be demonstrated. And even though we might have the different degrees and academical accolades you may say, there's going to be a time that your ability is going to be called into action. Direct your thoughts, as somebody says, is what you think about, what you put your mind towards, or your mental focus. Bear in mind that everything that you do must direct your thoughts to the right approach in life. Direct your emotions. In other words, to control your emotions, instincts, and appetites, rather than to be mastered by them. Also, direct your actions. The final test of discipline is actual behavior. You prove you've mastered your thoughts and emotions by virtue of your actions, deeds, not works. So it is very important that whenever a student feel as if him have this feeling that this boy shouldn't call him any names or tell him about his mother, he must make sure that him control his thoughts, him control his actions, and carry out the best one possible. Always be positive. One of the meaningful statements of meaningful purpose of discipline is that discipline is not an end in itself. It is merely a tool for reaching your goals. Yes, it's a tool for reaching your goals. And as young people, we can't stop from emphasizing that a lot of times what persons may say to you may not so much physically hurt you, but emotionally may hurt you, but yet still in itself, it does not really matter. Question: how can you increase self-discipline after you have heard so much of this? First of all, start out. Start out by working out on your goal, staying on track with the positive reinforcement that you need to maintain. Bouncing back from stumbles. There are going to be times that you're going to struggle to meet the goal. Yes? And coping with stress. All of us have stress. All of us will endeavor to engage stress when the time comes. But then when the stress comes, what are you going to do? So start out, work out toward the goal, staying on track with positive reinforcement, bounce back from the stumbles, and cope with your stress. Now, it's the tough guys who lead the survivors. It's the tough guys who lead the survivors. Somebody may say, it's a dog eat world that we are living in. The world is not a nice place to live in, but then it is the place where God put his people to carry out his duties. Not in the sky, yeah, not on a moon, not somewhere far from here, outside of this world, but right here on the world, in this world. And we need to get acquainted with each other as we go along. And while we are getting acquainted with each other, with this rough life that we are engaging in, is the tough guys who lead the survivors. It's the tough guys also who are determined no matter what. Look at these young men. Yes? No hands, no fingers. But guess what? Then put their shoulder to the task and their endeavor to fulfill their purpose. Somebody might see something different in them. Somebody might laugh after them. But at the end of the day, they have their direct focus in view. Look at this little girl. 1.5 feet. It's the people who start will someday reach their goal, as somebody says. Determined to follow through with what you have started out in the first place. And regardless of what has happened to you in this life, you will still maintain your focus. In other words, go back, bounce back, and reinforce what you have started. So disciplined people are happier people. Why? Because they are in control of their lives. Disciplined people are happier people because they are in control of their lives. And so true. Once you are in control of your emotions and your thoughts, believe me, they don't teach this in school as a subject, you know. Hello? It's not maths and English. But then you could use all of what you have and focus your energy on the part that is weak. So if you have a weak discipline, self-control behavior, zero in and try to maintain some positive reinforcement in your life. Disciplined people, they are free from impulses, knee-jerk reactions, or distractions. If you do photography, the photographer do a good job to help us understand that the focus is on the man in front, not so much the people in the back. Yeah? And even though you are seeing the people in the back, we can hardly make out their faces down the line because the focus is not necessarily on those who are in the back. Yeah? So they are kind of blurred out in a way. Disciplined people, yeah, them have one track mind, if you want to say. You ever been to racehorse track? And you ever ask yourself the question, why is it that they put these blinders beside both eyes of the horses? You know why? Anybody can tell me why?
It helps to keep them focused on the track ahead of them or the road.
Yes. Help them to keep focus. And one of the reasons why, psychologically, why them keep moving fast and don't stop galloping is because they are hearing and they are not seeing. In their peripheral vision, they're not seeing anything. All they are seeing is darkness on this side. And so their eyes are focused on moving at all times. Why? Because something is coming behind them. They are hearing this juggling sound. And they can't help but keep galloping too. Yes? This young man is a fitting example. As much as there are the race in, they are racing and they are moving, his one intention is keep his eye on the goal. No matter who behind him. So, they have the power as disciplined people to choose to say yes to the behaviors that will lead them toward their goal. And see him there? Income number 1. First place. So I'm getting medal, I'm getting goal, and I'm getting trophy. Yes? And it is very good that he has maintained, regardless of what, and achieve his goal. So, during this time of exam preparation, young people, hope that some of you are on the platform and preparing yourself for your CXC and your City and Guilds exams. Don't be agitated. Don't feel nervous. Don't get yourself involved into other extra unwanted curricular activities that are not wholesome and healthy for your life, start the studying now. Yes, start working on me, say me, myself, and I, and purpose to achieve that goal that you want in your life. And may God continue to bless each and every one of us. And pursuing the thoughts of our lives is very important. Somebody said the dreams of your life. Don't keep dreaming over and over. Yeah, but while you're dreaming over and over, engage into your dream to make it a reality. Yes? So that when the day comes, you can say, yes, I remember I had this thought and I made it a reality. God bless you. Thank you for having me. Discipline is the key to our successful life, and it is not a one-man job. Thank you very much for having me. God bless you.
Thank you, sir. Before you rush off, I'm sure there might be a question or two that somebody might have for you. So
Go
just
ahead.
before he rushes off, anybody with a question
for me, Sir Walker, question.
Yes,
How do
Brittany.
you discipline a teenage boy? Like, what can be some of those, methods that you use? Because you don't want to come off too violent onto them. So what could be some of those stages, like for a 14-year-old male?
A 14-year-old. Like what we are dealing with right now, we are in a mentorship session with some of these boys, and the development stage that they are at right now, between 14 and 15, they are looking into themselves and trying to identify themselves with the different things that are around them. And so one of my goal that we have been trying to do along with a team that we have here is to help the student refocus, if you want to say, because the thing that they are seeing, they think that it is okay and it is fine for them to get involved in. First of all, like the drugs that we are seeing and the substance abuse that is very prevalent across the schools in Jamaica. As far as they are concerned, it's the in thing, it's a cool thing, it's something that they need to get themselves involved in. But we sit down with them. I had two of them the other day, and he cried right in my office here. And he said, sir, he can't help but smoke because it kind of ease him tension because he have some issues at home, right? And so what we have to be doing, help them to refocus, because a lot of times what they get in this life is not necessarily what they need. So I would engage, especially the 14-year-olds, which we are dealing with right now, to refocus their goals in this life.
Okay, sir, can you take on a new mentee? Stuff is sounded weird, but could you
Pardon me?
take on somebody else? Could you
If I
take
can do
on
what? Take on
a
somebody else?
mentee? Yes.
So Walker.
Sir, I need help, sir.
All right.
You need help. All right. So,
Yes.
Tamara.
Yes, sir.
Well. The only thing I could ask for Tamara to do for me, because I lost your number, because I get a new phone, and I can't seem to see your number. I was looking for a number a while ago. I need to set up a little group if you can, or sir, I don't know who can do it for me, but I have two mentees right now dealing from Heart Trust NTA. They are here working at our school. One is my assistant. He's doing a very good job so far, and preparing himself to go to UA. Not sure how far is he from that, but we are working on him on that. I would love to be your mentee. While it is being said, 370-5277 is my number. But I would have to ask that Tamara send back the number so we can have that link between the both of you, please.
All right, so we're gonna work out the logistics of that. Any more questions for Mr. Walker before he jumps off? Any other question for him?
Yeah. So my question was more about in the presentation, one of the things you said was to direct your emotions, but that's not so clear, like what kind of techniques do you use to kind of get there?
So direct your emotions. You know how you feel? Talk to me, Brittany.
Yeah, I know how I feel.
You know how you feel at times? Sometimes you feel sad, sometimes you feel happy, and sometimes it's in between. Emotionally speaking, our emotions will get the better of us if we don't pay attention. And many times, for instance, I'm going to speak from my point of view. I get upset emotionally because the student was spoken to 2 or 3 times about his behavior. And you know what I did? I cuss him. I raised my voice at him. And I say some very, very discriminative statements that would cause him to feel so bad that he want to leave the school and don't want to come back. From that point of view, my emotions got the better of me because I shouldn't have done that. So when I speak to you on directing your emotions, we know that we have emotions that are good and we have emotions that are bad. And so we need to direct our emotions in the right way that will help the other person to see what we are saying from this point of view. Right? I know he knows the right thing to do. At the same time, I need to help him see that from the perspective that rules are rules and he must abide by the rules. So when I speak of directing my emotions, I'm speaking in that same breath. Positive thoughts, positive emotions. Everything must be directed. All right?
Thank you so much.
Don't
Sir
make your
Walker.
emotions get the better of you.
All right. Thank you so much, Sir Walker. I'm mindful of the time and we have one more presenter. Thank you so much for sharing. Any other question for Mr. Walker before he jumps off the platform? No? If not, thank you so much, sir, for
All
sharing.
right, all the best.
Yes, with us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, sir. All right, so I have 2 quick giveaways for, I'm hearing it's 2 $500 credit before we take our final presenter, which is Shantar Swaby. So I have a question, and then I'm going to ask the 2 guest judges to determine who gives the best answer to get the credit. All right, so the first question, and of course, I know somebody like Miss Anderson will not participate because she don't need the credit. Primarily for the students who need the credit. All right, so what is compassion? That is the question for the first giveaway. What is compassion? And the second part of that question is how many elements of compassion were highlighted earlier. So let's get this done quickly, people. If not, I'm going to pick on people. All right, so who is willing to answer to get the $500 credit? Just put it. Okay, I'm Miss Nelson because I don't want to mess up your first name. Go ahead, Miss Nelson. Go ahead, just unmute and go ahead and answer.
Hi everyone, so my name is Takis Nelson, and to answer your question, compassion was defined earlier as identifying the distress of others and then wanting to find ways to help them alleviate that distress. So, as Nurse would have mentioned, it's not just about recognizing that somebody is sad and you're able to show empathy or sympathy, but you want to do something about it. And there were 4 components mentioned to include autonomy, inclusion, exploration, and expansion.
Wow. Well, I was even gonna ask if what the elements were, but it sounds like she should get it, right, ladies? It
correct.
sounds that way, even though I'm seeing that Nicholas actually contributes. So let me, highlight what Nicholas said. He said compassion is the ability. Okay, hold on. Because people are answering, okay, compassion is the ability to be empathetic towards a someone or a situation. Okay. I don't know if they have a consolation prize. So group, do you have a consolation prize? So Nicholas can probably get $200 credit. I don't know. I'm just putting that out there in the atmosphere. So good job, Takis. And I believe ladies, Shantara and is it Marlies? Is that how it's pronounced?
Yes, it is Marlies.
Marlies, yes. Do you think she's worthy of the $500 credit? All
Absolutely.
right. So class, how will she get the credit? Is it that she needs to or somebody from the group will get it to her? How will that process work? Please place
So
name and number
Tadisia,
in the chat. Okay.
yes.
Please place name and number in the chat. All right. So the next one. So that was done quickly. We're on to the next one. So this is for somebody else for the other $500 credit. What is the role of self-discipline in conflict resolution? What is the role of self-discipline in conflict resolution? I'm not seeing anybody. E-learning 20. You're I saw like your mic was open. E-learning 20. Was that a mistake or you want to answer? Okay, e-learning 20 is not responding. All right.
Good afternoon. Self-discipline has to do with
It's morning.
oh, it's morning for you. It has to do with respect, self-control, and how to manage certain situations by yourself.
Are we comfortable with that answer? Marlies and Shantar? No, not Shantar. Sorry, not Shantar. And Gabriel, yes. Marlies and because Shantar, you're right next to Marlies on my screen. Sorry. Marlies and Gabriel, are we comfortable with that answer?
Gabriel?
Okay, you're passing it over to Gabriel. Gabriel, are you comfortable with that answer?
She's not incorrect, but I would like to hear from a few more persons.
Okay, all right. Fair enough, fair enough, fair enough. All right. Can we get at least one or two other persons attempting that? Let me repeat the question. What is the role of self-discipline in conflict resolution?
Could I answer Miss Daly or I should be out of it?
I don't know. Are you in the class?
Yes,
Are you,
miss.
are you in the event? Yes, you're out of it. Sorry. My apologies. Sorry. Okay. I was reminded just now that if Takis, are you underage? Takis, are you
No, miss, I'm 19 years old.
So you're a big woman. It's okay. Thanks. No, I'm being reminded that if you're underage, you really shouldn't ask your name and number. So that's why I asked that. Okay. Yes, you're of age. Takis, you're of. Okay. So Nick is attempting this one as well. Nicholas. Self-discipline is a tool to be used to control the situation and ensure that it doesn't get out of control while at the same time find a suitable solution. All right. So that's another one in the mix, Gabriella and Marlies. Do we want one more or we're going to choose between these two?
We can take another one.
All right. We're going to take one more. All right.
We can take another one.
All right. Yes. So one more. No, man. Some of you should be happy that this is a virtual platform. So we can't see somebody to just pick on you like that. Yes. We just want one more response just to add to that. One more. No, what, people getting shy on me or because it's lunchtime, the energy level waiting a bit? Feel free to have a snack or something. You know, we have just one more speaker to be finished. Okay. I'm sorry. Say that again.
I'm saying it's because it's lunchtime.
Yeah, man, because it's lunchtime. But we still release you. All right. So Gabriel, okay. I'm not sure why the recording stopped. I'm gonna pause. You want to restart the recording? Janelle, the recording just stopped. Gabriel, I'm going to read Gabriel's response in order to understand the other person's perspective. All right, so we have 3 responses. So we got from Gabrielle, we got from Nicholas, and we got from, who was the very first person? So now I'm forgetting, who was the very first person?
E-learning 20.
E-learning 20. All right, so of the 3, who's our winner?
Okay, Miss Bailey, so I'm going to have to give it to Nick for this one. How about Miss Malcolm?
Miss Malcolm, do you agree?
Yes, I agree.
Okay, I agree as well. I agree as well. Good job, Nicholas. And I believe that's Nicholas Francis, right? It sounded like him. If not, that would be his twin brother. I don't know. All right, but I believe that is Nicholas. Janelle, has the recording resumed before we take our final presenter? I just heard that the recording stopped, so. Okay, thank you so much, Sir Sewell, for even joining us. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. All right, appreciate it. All right, so Janelle, before we take the final presenter, I'm just checking if the recording has resumed before we take the final presenter.
Jonelle doesn't seem to be on the platform. One other co-host can initiate it.
I just got opportunity to come back. But Miss Daly, you would have to resume it because I got kicked off and the host privileges are now to you.
All right, so are we still streaming? Well, okay, and when I record, okay. I receive a request to, okay. All right, so I believe we're back on. We have our final presenter, who is Shantar Swaby. She's a seasoned counselor with over 9 years of experience working with children in both urban and rural settings. She's dedicated to addressing the complex issues faced by children and families, including mental health challenges and socioeconomic struggles. With a strong focus on child well-being, Shanta is expanding her expertise into social work to further advocate for the needs of the Jamaican population. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Guidance and Counseling and a Master of Science in Counseling and Social Work. Shantar is passionate about supporting children and families, striving to make a positive impact through her work. Shantar Swaby, please share with us.
Okay. All right. Is everyone hearing me? Good afternoon. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Is everyone seeing my screen?
Yes, we are.
Okay. All right. So I think it's safe to say that we've gotten a wealth of information so far. And I just want to add to the discussion in this specific way. But before I start, I just want you to, while going through this presentation, to pay attention to yourself. Yes, we are catering to and we're speaking to youths, but something that I will agree on is just the fact that it starts with us. So I want it to be as reflective as possible. I want you to think about yourself back then as a youth, yourself now as an adult. How are you contributing to bridging this gap that we have, or building the bridge through compassion so that we can help with conflict? And so I want you to be as reflective as possible. I want you to think about everything that you would have experienced within your space, whether it's within your family or outside of your family. And for the youths, I just want you to think about yourself. It's not about anybody else. It's about you now. So we're focusing on self. Okay. For some reason, my slide is not moving. Let me try again. So, Okay. So the rationale basically of this presentation is that we are going to explore just three main things, and we are going to look on in total, I think, 5 points to take into consideration as it relates to the theme. So first, I want us to explore the developmental, familial, and socioeconomic or cultural factors associated with conflict. We will be assessing the practical skills of conflict management and healthy communication. And lastly, which is the main focus of today, is focusing on how we can build compassion in our approach to self and others when managing conflict. So I would like to start with a little activity. I know we may be a little bit tired, but it would be good to get your interaction with this. It won't be long. So we are going to start things off with an activity that I call conflict bingo. And the task is that what you're going to do is to identify and mark off the conflict situations that you have experienced or witnessed. And I want you to then observe whether you made a bingo. Is it a case where you experienced or witnessed everything that is there? And if you have, I want you to use the chat to just type bingo in the chat if you have experienced or witnessed any of these. And then, of course, we're going to briefly discuss it together. So I know we're strapped for time, so we're just going to take a single minute, and I want you to just read through the different conflict situations and just identify, is there anything here that you would have experienced that you can relate to, that you have seen around you with our children? All right. All right. I think that's enough time. I hope it's enough time. Wow, I'm seeing a lot of bingos in the chat, and I just want to take 2 persons. I just ask you to just open your mics and let's hear about it. Let's talk about it. Tell me, how was this activity for you? And if you are comfortable to just to share with us how this activity was and what stood out for you, what you would have experienced or witnessed. And anyone can open their mics if you're okay to. No one wants to go? Do anyone wants to volunteer to maybe call in a few persons for me? Just 2 persons. Nothing hard.
Okay, so I've been going for a lot of them because I have 4 younger siblings, and you know, some siblings we always seem to have some kind of conflict or argument, and I don't have much friends, and one of the reasons is I've been caught between 2 friends before because I tend to have more than one friend group, and they're not always friends with each other, so sometimes you get caught in the middle. And you know, we all have our opinions. I always try to respect other people's opinions so I don't get in too much arguments. It's more like debates about that. Yeah. Definitely lost a couple of friends.
Yeah.
And I love my personal space. So yeah. A lot of arguments. That's a big problem with the siblings. That's what the arguing with the siblings is about. And I have a temper. Sometimes I don't know what I'm saying, you know? And yeah, the fighting has been a problem before. So yeah.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you too for your honesty. I think it's so important for us to have this discussion with self, you know, with us first, because I think it was said before that a lot of times we tend to want to point fingers on others. And so it's so nice to actually hear that, you know, you're able to say that, yeah, I have experienced this. So thank you so much for sharing. So I'll just have one more person and then we're gonna move on.
I think because I'm the youngest one of my siblings, even though at this age and stage of my life, I'm a big woman, I think in their mind, no matter what, I am still the youngest one. So I think because of that, because of that thinking, I think even when I'm just trying to express how I'm feeling about something, it causes some sort of friction and continued friction because I think for some of my siblings, I shouldn't be able, well, I shouldn't say certain things to them because I'm the young one. And I think because of that, it has caused ongoing tensions, especially one of my older brothers, because he handled a situation a particular way and I spoke to him about it. And since then, we have not related the same. But I don't think I was wrong in telling him because he needed to be told. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you so much for that. And it brings out so many of the things that we'll be looking on today. Just the fact that conflict is not something that happens at a specific stage. It's not that only children experiences conflict. It's something that we will experience at different stages of life. It's something that we're still learning to manage. And so it's so important that you would have pointed that out. And then another thing that I wanted to mention is just the fact that there are various elements, underlining elements that affect how we actually deal with and manage conflict. And we're going to look more into that. And so moving on to my other slide, I'm having a problem with my slide. So I'm going to try to share it without bringing it up in slideshow because it's not changing on my end for some reason. Or let me have a go at it again. Okay. All right. So the first point, we would have heard it from the persons who would have spoken just now, and even for people who would have sent in that bingo in the chat, that conflict is inevitable in human interactions. Why is this so? Because there will always be differences in perspectives. We are diverse in how we are socialized, in our experiences, in our beliefs, and in our opinions. We have persons coming from different walks of life. And so, of course, once you interact with someone, it is likely or it is possible that you may have conflict. Not saying that it must happen, but it can happen once you have human interaction. One of the things that we have to be mindful of as well is that miscommunication may exist. And it's just basically a breakdown in communication that is made because of the different beliefs and opinions that we may have. We may draw different inferences from a person's language or tone or their nonverbal cues or even cultural norms. And so we may have a lot of miscommunication sometimes. Sometimes if you check it, we're actually saying the same thing. But because we are so passionate about our experiences or feelings, we're so driven by our emotions sometimes, we don't take the time out to actually listen to say, but boy, you know, we're really saying the same thing here. And so miscommunication is something that we see happening a lot of times. And I would have touched on it, emotional responses. We're emotional beings. We will always sometimes be so caught up, so passionate about how we feel. And going back to the fact that we might just feel as though we are right, you are wrong. I don't have ears to hear anything that else you're saying because I know I'm right now and the discussion is over. So we have to be mindful as we move towards managing conflict. Given some elements of compassion, we have to be mindful of these factors, that it is inevitable, that we we are human and we're gonna have emotional responses. There might be miscommunication and we're people with different perspectives. Okay, great. So we're moving quickly along and I'm gonna just quickly read a case that I have here, and it's the case of Greg. So meet Greg. And Greg is a 15-year-old boy who lives with both parents. He was recently suspended from school for fighting another student who stepped on his shoes. Greg is described as being full of anger and rage to the point where the simplest thing gets him upset. Though known as the toughest boy in school, Greg is secretly afraid of his parents as they will be coming into school. At home, he usually keeps to himself to avoid his parents arguing with him. He would sometimes have to intervene when his parents have their loud or arguments, which sometimes become physical. To escape his reality, he spends as much time as he can outside, where he often witnesses gang violence and other violent activities. Now, before I ask the question that I'm about to ask, I just want to hear from you. You can type it in the chat if you want to. You can open your mics. And I just want to hear from you. Do you think that this is something that we may have in our society? How many Gregs do we have in our society? Is this something that you think our children in Jamaica may be experiencing? All right. All right. So I see some things in the chat. Thank you for sharing. And the reality is, and the truth is that, yes, we have children sitting in front of us and they are going through so much. And the truth is that we cannot know. We cannot know by just the look on their face. And even sometimes from their behavior, we don't know the magnitude of where everything is coming from. And again, this is why we are looking skin deep. We're looking within. It's not just the conflict when it happens, but where is it coming from and what could have contributed to this response? So the question that comes with this, I don't know, my PowerPoint is not working, so just bear with me a little bit. I am gonna just not share full screen this time around. All right. So the question that comes with this is, how does Greg's experiences affect his response to conflict? And I just want two persons to just quickly answer and then we move on. This is the last interactive activity. So I just want to hear your thoughts on this.
Can you repeat the question, please?
How does Greg's experiences affect his response to conflict?
Okay, so I'll go ahead and try. So they said normally children live what they learn, and it seems to me that Greg is seeing his parents fight out their arguments and their disagreements that they have. And so he's bringing that kind of action to school and mirroring the behavior that he sees taking place in his home, really and truly.
And that is exactly so. Thank you so much for sharing that. Children live what they learn, and whatever we may be doing around them, it is teaching them how to actually respond in their own circumstances. So thank you so much for that. And just one more person before we move on. How does Greg's experiences affect his response to conflict?
Greg responds by taking out his anger in other people, trying to escape his family drama, and going to school to display it because he doesn't have anyone to talk to or anyone to come to or nowhere that he can feel safe and talk to the person.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. And you know, a lot of times we may think that it's just coming from this single action, someone stepping on a person's shoe. But sometimes we are so triggered to the point where everything just resurfaces and there is just a need for us to let it all out. I think it was said before, it's kind of like your cup being full and it's overflowing. And sometimes it's not necessarily related to what may happen in that moment, but it's just a built up of everything that we would have been experiencing on the inside. And so if we are to move to a place of compassion, we first have to understand the dynamics and the different things that could be affecting us as human, that could be affecting our children. So the next slide or the point comes to conflict responses are influenced by internal and external factors. So similar to Greg's situation, Greg has to be dealing with developmental factors. One of the things that we have to consider with children and teens is that their brain is still developing. Specifically the prefrontal cortex, which is where the decision making and the impulse control is. We have to understand that this is still developing in them. And it's not to say that it is an excuse, but we have to have a little bit of understanding. We have to be a little bit mindful that it's important to consider this. And that's why it's also important to use age-appropriate strategies whenever we're talking to kids about conflict. And we have to bear in mind the other things that they would have come in contact with. Another thing at this stage is self-discovery phase and wanting to fit in. And even trying to decide, how do I even fit in my family? Because you have a lot of children who they just feel misunderstood. They feel like they were born into a family where I didn't ask to be here, or I'm not understood by anybody else. And they don't have that person that they can offload on. They don't have that support system. And so they're here trying to figure out life on their own. So it's not enough for us to just say, okay, practice this strategy or just do this. It's something that is learned. It's something that has to be curated. It is something that is developed over time. And I think it was said before by, it's Mr. Walker, I hope I am getting it right, where it is not just a one-man thing, but it's a collective effort from all angles. How am I going to fuel this? How am I going to help this person? Knowing in mind that this child, this adolescent is going through this developmentally. And I dare to say that even as adults, some of the things that we have left unresolved in our youth, it may be something that we're still trying to work on. So even now you find that you may find yourself in circumstances where you're continuously experiencing conflict. But until we're able to stop and look on self, then we might just continue having the same cycle. So we have to be honest with that as well. Family experiences, to add to the point that I'm going to give, is how a child manages negative emotions and conflicts is first learned in the home. This will have a lasting impact on their perception of conflict resolution. So as parents, we see for Greg's circumstance, he is witnessing domestic abuse. And for him, it means that, okay, me I go fight it out. Daddy and mommy I fight it out. What else is there to do? You know, so he's learning in that way. And then sometimes as parents, we have to understand, and even educators, teachers, we have to understand that we too have to be the bigger person. And it's okay to say to a child that, you know, I'm wrong, or this is not the way. Or to let them know, to be honest with them, to say that I'm still a work in progress. I'm still growing as well. Because we tend to have the notion that as adults, we have it all figured out. And I can tell you, boy, I don't have it all figured out. I currently have a 4-year-old and a 4-year-old daughter. And I always ensure that in any moment, when I realize that I feel overwhelmed, I tell her that, baby, I need some time. Mommy needs some time to work through how she's feeling. Because I am tasked with the responsibility of helping her to understand her feelings, to manage her emotions. And it cannot be that when I'm overwhelmed, I'm just telling her, oh, just leave me alone, go watch the TV, or, displacing my anger on her. And in moments when I feel as though it is becoming too much, I take some time. So we have to really be aware of the fact that this is life, and we are tasked with the responsibility of helping them to enter into adulthood. And whatever we practice when we are young, it's not something that disappears into adulthood and we get a clean slate to try over again. It's something that has to be practiced. The other thing is cultural factors. We have children coming to us from different walks of life, from different communities. They're exposed to so many different things. For Greg, the very escape that he's trying to escape, he's still going into spaces that might cause him toxic shock, that might cause him traumatic experiences, being exposed to violence. And he's internalizing all of this, not knowing the impact and the effect that it may have on him later on in life. And as we see here for Greg, it's a case where he is displacing it by fighting, by being labeled as one of the baddest boys in the school, when the reality is that he has not been given a fair chance. And so these are some of the things that we have to consider when we think about truly leading with compassion. Now, I just want to turn your heads real quickly to number 3, and it says mismanaged conflicts can have detrimental consequences. And so this is something that we know of. This is something that we see in our Jamaican society, where we have headlines that read, young and dangerous, teenage gangsters driving up the crime rate. We have news clipping where it says a student was charged with murder. We have clippings where it says 5 women charged for almost beating teen to death at illegal party. And it goes back to the fact that even as adults, we still do not get it right. We still don't know how to manage our emotions. We still don't know how to manage conflicts, because it leads me to ask the question, how can 5 women, adults for that matter, what can 5 adults have to actually turn to something like this where they have jeopardized a teenager's life? So the question that we have to ask ourselves is, how are we showing this compassion? How are we really teaching the children what they ought to teach through our behavior? And sometimes it's a single, simple things. Sometimes it's very direct in our approach to children, and sometimes it's subtle, like giving a child a silent treatment. And I don't know if we understand the impact that it has on a child and the abusive nature of actually giving a child a silent treatment, because we think that they did something wrong and we are not in agreement with it. So instead of talking it through with the child, we give them the silent treatment, or we treat them differently. A child's birthday is coming up and we decide that I'm not buying you a gift because you did this. We have to think about these factors, and these are some of the subtle, small places in our behavioral responses and in checking ourselves too, where it starts. This is where it actually starts. We see statistics that says 41% of deaths in boys aged 15 to 19 are due to violence. And this was coming out of a Caribbean report. So it's a different Caribbean countries. And this report was coming out of it. And then we see more and more initiatives where coming out where it says conflict resolution program aims to reduce violence in schools. Just Medsit campaign to end violence in schools. We have so many different initiatives coming out of the ministry. We would have heard some of it this morning, and we are now at a place where we're wondering, what else? What can we do? Because if it's not every other day, every other week, it is something else coming out with our children, and it makes us wonder, how can we do better for them? How can we help them to move to a point where they see things differently? And so number 4 says it's important to reinforce healthy conflict resolution strategies, and it doesn't take much. It's a simple thing like helping them to identify their triggers and emotions. So this happened. How does it make you feel? We have a thing in our society where we say, boy, I'm a feel away, but what is feeling away? Sometimes the children don't understand their feelings. And even as adults, we don't understand our feelings. We don't know how to describe it. We don't know where it's coming from. We just know that we'll wake up and they would say you wake up on the wrong side of the bed. You don't want to hear nobody talk to you. You're just so angry and you don't take the time out to stop and pause and say, boy, Shantar, this is not it. What is happening with you? What are you feeling right now? Because sometimes it takes a little self-coaching. It takes a little talking to yourself to really realize what's happening on the inside. And sometimes we don't do it often enough. So instead, we go through our way angry with the world. Your pen drop and you want to flare up and disturb the whole entire class. Or somebody says something in your office to you and you take it as an offense. And you start pre the person a certain way. Oh, me know say a long time him or she not like me. And these are unhealthy things that we do, not knowing that we have to continuously work on ourselves, work through our emotions. And so the other thing is time out, taking time out during heated arguments at least. It's okay to say to the person that, I really see that this is going in a direction that is not healthy for the two of us. Is it okay for us to revisit it? And I know there are times when it's difficult for us to do that because while you might be the bigger person, while you may have a different perspective, and while you may want to take a different approach, the other person may not have the same approach. And it goes back to the fact that we have to consider all the internal and external factors that may affect a person's approach to conflicts. And so sometimes you may not have that. But at the same time, it's worth being consistent in how we manage conflict. Because how we manage conflict too may be something that inspires somebody else. They might say it's one thing with Shantar, she always take the same approach. And they too may want to be inspired by it. And that speaks to compassion as well. That is how we teach it. That's how we help others to learn it. It starts with us. And so another one is getting help or talking to someone about support. I think we need to move away from a culture where we have this thing where we say children should be seen and not heard. Or if you're seeking help, it means say you're mad. People don't like the idea of getting help for mental health concerns because of the negative things that you have surrounding it. But it's not so. It's not so. As people, we're always going to go through a range of emotions. You might sit here and you feel sad. You feel angry the next minute. You feel happy and perky the next minute. We go through so many emotions in just a single day. And we go through so much in our personal space as well. And it's important for us to know that, boy, I don't think I can handle this on my own. I don't think I've been dealing with this in a way that I should. And I need to be better. I need to do better for the sake of myself, for the sake of my children. So we have to consider that as well. Do something that calms you down. It's important for us to teach children that there are different activities that they can expose them to different activities from a very young age. Help them to understand that there are different ways of calming down themselves. I always found it so funny, or I don't know, I guess inspirational, and at the same time I question it. That for toddlers, there are so many things that they put in place where they teach children, they have the calming corner, you have this calming box, but then as they grow and they become toddlers, they start primary school, they go to high school. Where does all of that go? It's like it's non-existent. But what we have to understand is that it's necessary to bring it back to basic. It's necessary to reinforce these strategies. And it's necessary for us to do it in an age-appropriate way. So, of course, you're not going to tell a teenager that, oh, go and take time out and go sit in the corner. and work through your emotions, or use a puppet. Maybe it might work for you. I'm just giving an example. Or the things that you would tell a toddler to do, you wouldn't tell a teen to do. So it's kind of rediscovering children. What is it that works for them? What is it that gives them a sense of calm? When they were younger, it may have been this, but as they grow, are you paying attention? And I'm appealing to persons who may be parents, who may be teachers, whatever capacity that you serve in, are you spending the time to pay attention to what is really happening with that child? Are you just dealing with the fact that, oh, him hit the other student? Oh, I'm going to punish you for that. You shouldn't have done that, but nothing else comes out of it. Do we really explore what is the underlying cause? And then talk it out. It's so important. And you hear me talking, and you must can imagine I love to talk about these things. I will talk, right? So it says using I statements. And I think it was mentioned before. Sometimes when we're in disagreements, we tend to displace. They have a thing where they say persons gaslight you. You're turning it around on the other person, and you don't want to take accountability for you in the process. And so in that moment, it's important for us to help other persons to understand what is it that you're feeling. So I feel this way because you did this, and I think this could have been done differently in this way. We don't speak like that. We don't practice those things. And again, it goes back to how are you helping children as they move through the different developmental stages? How is it that you're fostering these healthy strategies in them? And it's not something that has a cutoff point. It's something that we take with us for as many years as we will live. So talk it out, communicate it, say how you're feeling, and know that it's okay to actually feel what you're feeling. And so the fifth one and the final point says compassion is key to effective conflict resolution. And it's necessary for us to create an awareness of someone else's anguish, pain, distress, so that we can help them in the long run, because it's not always about us. And so it says compassion in resolving conflict is practicing what we preach, modeling healthy behaviors. It's realizing that having a conflict does not always have to turn out bad. You may learn something if you are willing to listen and learn. Understanding that people are impacted by different life experiences that may affect how they respond to conflict. Knowing that being the bigger person or walking away does not make you weak or a coward. And respecting that a person's or your feelings are valid, and it is okay to communicate or work through how you feel. And so again, I just leave you with the point that it starts with us. And if we're able to truly appeal to children, we have to first appeal to ourselves first. And sometimes we have to know too that our children teach us as well, you know, because sometimes it's them teaching us or trying to show us that, boy, this is just not the right way. And it's important that the second point, it says that it's important that we are willing to listen and learn and know that we're not beyond reproach. So it's a two-way stream. It's a partnership. It's something where we have to understand that in helping them, we have to be open to them healing us in a certain way as well and helping us as well. And us being able to consider that conflict does not happen outside the many cultural factors that we have. It doesn't happen outside of family problems that children are experiencing and going through. It doesn't happen outside of them going through the developmental stages that they are. And so as we continue to lead with the charge that we're leading with, as we try to help others, I hope that you'll be able to take these into consideration. And so the last thing I would like to invite you persons to do is that if you are a child or if you know of a child who may need help, help is here. Link up anytime. Reach out to Safe Spots. So for those who may not know, Safe Spot is a online 24 hours counseling service free of charge for children and teenagers 17 years and under. And so what we have here are trained counselors, trained psychologists who are ready and willing to help children to work through their problems, work through their emotions, and just attack life in a way where we're not just putting on a band-aid, but we're knowing that we're doing it with a knowing that whatever I learn here, I have to continue to apply it. Because as I get older, it doesn't leave me, it comes with me, and I will have the responsibility of actually teaching others along the way. So I hope this was, informative to you. I know we've been here for some time, but that's my little word. And thank you so much again to everyone here. I'm not sure if anyone has any questions. You can go ahead if you do.
We're mindful that we're slightly over time, but just as with the other presenters, we are asking if you have any questions for Madam Swaby before we close. Any questions or comments for Ms. Swaby?
No, not from me.
But thank you, Aliyah. Thank you. Thank you, Aliyah. So Aliyah said, okay, if there's none from me, that chance are there no other questions. All right. Thank you, Aliyah. All right. So Michelle Lothan is saying, excellent presentation. Bethan Thomas is saying, very informative. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Once again, just as I said with the Live Good, it's like you see these things, but then now you have a better understanding of what these different programs end up doing for us,
Miss
for our
Deli,
country. You change your mind, Aliyah?
yes.
Okay, go ahead,
Miss
Aliyah.
Swaby, anything for the parents when you're doing the sessions, it's only with the child or the parents or parent can be present.
You're muted, Chantal.
Yes, you mean for Safe Spots?
Yes.
No, currently, well, we just work with children 17 years and under. So we just encourage them to reach out, whether it's via call, WhatsApp. If they want to message us through Instagram, they can, and we have web chat as well. They would reach out to us anytime they're comfortable talking to someone, and they will get counseling support. So it's just for the children.
Okay, thank you.
And free of charge. Let me just say that it's free of charge. You're welcome.
Thank you so much for sharing, Madam Swaby. I believe we have 2 short videos, Janelle, to share. And then I have just a quick word, and then we will close. So go ahead and share those videos, Janelle. And commendations for a lot of you who've been on from the start of this webinar until now.
We want a peace for Jamaica. Yeah, yeah. We have to be our brother's keeper. Yeah, yeah. Jamaica live good, yeah. I make we enjoy life. Want we feel safe at night. Jamaica live good. I better you and I. No say we future bright. Jamaica live good. Come together as one. I make the violence the world.
Not sure what happened just now. That was a bit abrupt, but thank you so much, Janelle, for sharing. And thank you so much. So We're saying thanks to our sponsors, Ministry of National Security, specifically the Live Good Initiative, Safe Spot in Schools, Northern Caribbean University, and of course, DCS, and to the students of the Event Design Planning and Project Management class. I have no idea what grade you're going to get, but if I have anything to do with it, I believe you deserve a good grade because you've contributed to a natural conversation that needs to happen. So as somebody commented earlier that it's timely, I believe that all that has happened and continues to happen in our country, I believe it was a timely conversation. And I believe for those of us who made the time and came into this space, we have learned. I believe, as Michaela was saying earlier, that she wanted some tools. I believe she would have gotten those tools and strategies to help us all to be. We need an adult safe spot too. That is true. That is true. So maybe that is something that one of the ministries or an agency otherwise can take up. But for those of you who joined us for this initiative, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, as I said, to the students. I believe it's a conversation that should continue to happen. So in all of us in our different spaces, personal and otherwise, let's try to just change how we handle conflict and try to build these bridges and navigate conflict with compassion. Thank you so much, everybody. Be safe. Enjoy the rest of your day. Janelle, I'm not sure who has autonomy over the streaming, so that can be stopped as well.